This project was created by Patrick Castro, Sri Kanduri, and Adelina Sefiani. It is based upon two important presidents, Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton, and their role before presidency, during office, and their legacy after office. Okay, so let's begin. Ronald Reagan is the 40th President of the United States and is the oldest person to be nominated for presidency by a major party at the astonishing age of 69. Before his presidency, he was an actor and California's governor. Reagan was pushing to conservative reform by reducing the power of the federal government. He asked Congress to cut income taxes and also had deep reductions in several areas, including welfare, food stamps, and student loans. His theory, called Reaganomics, was used to increase the spending, which in turn would generate more goods and jobs and grow the economy. This was definitely portrayed in his statement, "Government is not the solution to our problem, government is the problem." He also wanted to cut government spending. Interestingly, he spent $2 trillion for the Pentagon in the 1980s and helped contribute to federal deficits. Reagan had the craziest idea in 1983 when he announced his intention to build a high-tech missile defense system called the Strategic Defense Initiative, aka Star Wars. Democrats called Reagan the Teflon president because of his ability to get away with anything without damaging his popularity with the American public. This includes the 1986 incident where Reagan secretly approved a deal to sell weapons to Iran in exchange for the release of hostages, which he later stated that he was innocent for. And he provided aid to Contra rebels who opposed anti-American militants. With his ability to keep his popularity through the continent, he won the 1980 and 1984 election in a landslide. Reagan had major achievements through his presidency, including the feminist revolution. He also dealt with African Americans and new immigrants. Also, speaking about communism, Reagan started off hating the Soviet Union by calling the Soviet Union, quote-unquote, the evil empire. But by the end, the anxiety surrounding the Cold War had been eliminated, and the president routinely praised the Soviet Union leadership for reform. In 1987, Reagan and Gorbachev signed a treaty to ban all intermediate-range nuclear missiles from Nicaragua and El Salvador with the Contra rebels. Ronald Reagan made a huge impact in his presidency. He shaped the way we deal with tax reform and foreign policy. He also created an economic legacy with tax reductions and tight interest rates, called Reaganomics. In the end, he changed the way we view the government and its involvement in our lives by pursuing a conservative reform. He also brought a wave of conservatism and created the largest peacetime army in the United States. To this day, we have a library in California dedicated to Ronald Reagan and his autobiography of his life called An American Life. Bill Jefferson Clinton is the 42nd president of the United States, the first president to be the part of the baby boomer generation, and is the third youngest president elected in the U.S. history. Once Clinton's presidency started, he had to deal with his past use of marijuana, avoidance of military service, rumors of womanizing, and allegedly shady business deal, causing the conservatives in Congress to feel inflamed. This caused Clinton to win the 1992 and 96 election without a majority of the vote. Clinton was a New Democrat, which was a movement towards the center politically. This meant being tougher on crime, pro-defense, and having a welfare reform. Early and often in his campaign, he used the phrase, "It's the economy, stupid," which spoke about the economic downturn in the United States. He began his presidency by signing an executive order to place restrictions on the senior political personnel who had tried to lobby their co-workers. He was successful in eliminating the federal deficit and overseeing the strongest economy. His administration focused on domestic issues, foreign policy, healthcare, and education. His presidency had major achievements, including the Family and Medical Leave Act, the Brady Bill, a gun control law, and the Minimum Wage Act, and the Taxpayer Relief Act. He also signed a compromise which led to the controversial "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" policy based upon gay rights. Also, Clinton signed into the North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement, commonly known as NAFTA, which in 1993 eliminated tariffs between Canada, U.S., Mexico. Although many argued it helped promote outsourcing, also the World Trade Organization, which hoped to promote free trade throughout the world, unfortunately led up to protests in Seattle. Based upon his foreign policy, Clinton created an embarrassment to the U.S. because of the Black Hawk Down, which was a miserable failure. The incident was a battle between U.S. and Somalia, killing 18 Americans. Perhaps his biggest gaffe was because of Somalia, he and other First World nations declined to send troops into Rwanda to stop the genocide there in 1994. Also in 1994, Clinton negotiated the nuclear accords with North Korea at the time. North Korea agreed to give up aspirations of developing nuclear weapons in exchange for assistance for their energy needs. In Iraq, he continued George W. Bush's economic sanction, but sadly, it was largely ineffective and contributed to more than 100,000 deaths and cultivated the notion that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Also improved relationships with China became a huge benefit. By 2000, China became a major trading partner with the U.S. Clinton greatly improved America's economy. His legacy is seen through his impeachment, economic globalization, and government reforms. Clinton was the second president to be impeached over the issues of obstruction of justice and perjury. He had an affair with Monica Lewinsky, which he denied in the beginning. Also, individuals donated money in exchange for staying overnight at the White House. To this day, we have a library in Little Rock, Arkansas, dedicated to Bill Clinton and an autobiography of his life called My Life. Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton left apparent legacies behind. Although both had their flaws, such as Reagan's scandals that were covered up and Clinton's Monica Lewinsky scandal, both also made lasting impacts to the extent where there was a library dedicated to each one of them. Thank you for watching this presentation.